So, as all 49 of you may or may not have noticed, I've been pretty much absent for the last month. I've had a lot going on here at the house. Had a family member come down ill who we're helping to rehabilitate, on top of having a frame break during a flight and not quite being able to get that frame replaced. And you throw that stuff on there, even when I did receive the frame, due to the nature of the illness, I have not had the time to even do a simple frame swap. Also, you may or may not have noticed that on the FPV Noob Tube, I'm going to be a content contributor. So I have been putting together content already. I have a couple episodes done, which is part of the reason I also haven't been posting on the channel. And we'll be getting those edits finalized and uploaded so that we can carry on something there and start it. But I'm not going to say anything else other than that. You'll have to check it out over there to get in on that goodness. So, now that things are winding down here in the homestead, I'm hoping to get back with some frequency. Back into my hobby, you know. So, on top of all that, after I did get my quad back together, because last weekend I did, or as I was getting it finished being put back together, I noticed one of the signal wires flopping around. And as I'm looking at it, I don't see a signal pad. I've been using the Kakudi F4 all-in-one, and I really love it. The fact that I didn't have to soft mount it, which isn't a huge deal, but because the gyro itself is soft mounted on the board, the fact that it is an F4, it was my first all-in-one, and I really liked having that all-in-one power distribution board and flight controller all together. It sure makes installation and wiring a hell of a lot easier. But the long and short is, as I'm putting it back together, one of the signal pads lifted right off the board. So, I had to wait a week for some new flight controllers to come, and as I was looking around, there's one that's been getting noticeably more attention lately, and I didn't know a whole lot about it, which to me sounded like a great reason to give it a shot. So, what we're going to be taking a look at, in a preliminary sense, is the CL Racing F4. Alright, so as you guys can see, I went ahead and picked up a couple of these. The reason being, you know, some people, they go through a lot of motors. Some people go through a lot of ESCs. Admittedly, one of the top items that I go through a lot of are frames, but in a close second to that, and I can't tell you why, are flight controllers. So anyway, let's take a look. Whoop. Alright. Go ahead and set that over here. So what we've got here is a CL Racing F4. Flight controller and power distribution board all in one. So right here I'm looking at the bottom side of the board. You can see the battery leads there. We also have some other leads for transmitter and whatnot. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of having these down here. But hopefully with the F4 and all this stuff being pretty simple to put together and take apart, even if I do have to get under here to do some soldering, it's not a big deal to pop a couple nuts off and get at it. But then let's take a look at the top of this board too. And as you guys can see, this is a really simple design. And that was the first thing that really attracted me to this. You know, obviously you got the ESC pads, signal and power. Whoop. You have the ESC pads, both signal and power. And then you've got a couple other items up here that, you know, people commonly use. You do have an LED signal pad, as well as video, and you have both camera in and out in order to take advantage of the OSD. The OCD, good lord. Anyway, and other than that, you're not going to find a whole lot on this board, which I really love, because I'm not somebody who has an LED strip and this and that and some other accessory and, you know, a motorized camera that lifts and pans and tilts and all this other crap. I'm pretty simple, which means that I generally have at least 60%, if not even closer to 75%, of the pads on the board not being utilized at all. So I find it kind of refreshing to have a really simple design, but still have all the major features I'm looking for. The board is noticeably light. I don't have a scale out here, so I'm not going to weigh it, but I know there's some other videos floating around. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in here for, again, any of you 49 that care. But it's simple, it's lightweight, and it's my understanding that Armatan is really the primary driver of these boards that they like to use on their builds. So looking really forward to getting this into the quad, and again, just for good measure, I have 2. If I like it enough, rather than letting it sit around as a spare, I may just go ahead and throw it into one of my other quads, since I have a couple of frames floating around now and multiple sets of motors and everything else. It'd be nice to, when I do have one that's out of commission, just be able to pick another one up and start flying again. So there you go. Stay tuned. I'm going to be getting this in either tonight or tomorrow, doing some flying and getting that uploaded to YouTube. I really like the simple packaging too. You know, this is a right-sized case size, doesn't have a bunch of extra frill and fluff. Very simple foam design. It's really there to prevent this thing from getting banged up, not to try to cushion it from every side, because there's just enough tension when this lid is closed that the thing's not going to bounce around in there. It's like Armatan is taking all the steps to make sure that this thing stays at a low price point, which is awesome for those of us who are always having to buy things. So there you have it. Keep an eye on the FPV Noob Tube for my weekly series, and keep an eye out for more content coming to the channel again. Happy crashing. What's the matter, kitty? You got grass on your whiskers. What are you doing? I want to go inside.